So remember that you have to open a new file, a new project. And here, instead of using the default construction or structural or architectural template, we have already created a template. So we have to browse and we have to, let's see, Dropbox, courses, Spring 20, Revit templates, that one. Okay, so we're going to start using the same template we used last time. We open this, open the new project, and there you go. I'm going to change the levels, so let's do it 12, so that would be level 12, and that would be level 0. And for the grids, that's fine. So we have number 1, 2, 3, and A, B, C, D, whatever. So the first thing, today we're going to create new walls. We are doing this in Building Science 1. So you know how, if you are taking Building Science 1 with me, you know how to do it. I'm sure that you have ever used Revit, you know how to create new walls. But now we are going to create not any wall. So we are going to copy this one. Okay, so this is the detail we are going to copy. This is the TDS Center. They are different. The TDS Center is a huge building. It's very long, and we have different sections through that building. We are going to copy this one because I think it's the easiest one. It doesn't have any windows, any curtain walls. The structural element is this concrete masonry unit. Then we have thermal insulation outside, air cavity, and the brick wall here. And the top of this brick wall, we have this steel element, and I think we can see this here. Yeah, you see? So we have this steel element here at the top. So we are copying this detail. Okay, so we have a section like this, and we have a brick wall outside, and then we will have the air cavity, the thermal insulation, a concrete masonry unit wall, and at the end, at the top of the building, we will have this steel. It's not a structural element, it's just the top or the cap of that building. Because, yeah, why? The beginning and the end of walls are complicated, so we have to create a lot of things. And if you look at this, you see that at the top of this building, we have this steel element, then we have a cap, we have a lot of water. Okay, so you see that this detail is not easy. These are the concrete masonry units, but the concrete masonry unit that we have here at the top is different. And then we have these two things that are bolted together here. And then we have a lot of layers. We go, okay, so we wrap the building with thermal insulation. That's good. And then we wrap the building again with a waterproof layer like this, okay? So today, at least we need to understand this wall, okay, that we have this is still secure. Yeah, so this is the gypsum or the dry wall. We have the air cavity here. There's the concrete masonry unit here. CMU stands for concrete masonry unit. Thermal insulation. Do we have any information about this? Well, it's a rigid insulation. And here we have the air cavity, and finally the brick. Okay, so first we have to create this wall. Okay, so we have to create a wall with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers. And the structural layer is the concrete masonry unit. And I think this is the concrete masonry unit. I think it's a 10-inch concrete masonry unit block. Okay, so the thickness is 10 inches. The thickness of the brick is 4 inches. This can be 3 inches. I think this thermal insulation is 6. and this cavity is 3, and the drywall can be, it's 5/8. Well, we can use 5/8 as we have here. Okay, so first let's create this wall. I hope. I have opened the Revit 2021 again. Why is it here? Okay. And we're going to use the grid to place steel columns, because the TDS center has a steel structure, and then we have this brick envelope. Okay, but we do have a steel structure. So let's do this. So first, architecture, wall. We have this basic generic wall, whatever. We have to edit type, and let's edit. So in this core boundary, I'm going to explain what it means because it's relevant now. This core boundary, we have one at the top and one at the bottom. That is the boundary of the structural element. So for us, our structural element is going to be a concrete masonry unit. So you type concrete masonry unit. Okay. And we said that the width of this concrete masonry units is 10 inches. Okay, so this is the material, the structural material that is within these core boundaries. Now we have to insert more materials, but we have to move them out of these core boundaries. So we have different materials. Outdoors, we insert. How many materials do we have? Okay, so this is the concrete masonry unit. Then we have thermal insulation, air, and brick. Okay. This is not structure. This is thermal. This is rigid insulation. Rigid insulation. Okay, 6 inches. Then we have air. So thermal air layer. Here we have to select air. And this is 3. No, sorry, 3. And finally, we have a brick. In this case, brick is not a structural element, it's a finish. Okay, so we will select finish. We will select brick here. Okay, and 4 inches. You see, here we are not talking about the thermal properties, okay, just the thickness and the material itself. So this is the core boundary. We'll find out why this is important later, but make sure that we have the concrete masonry units just between these two boundaries. And now we have to insert another one below. So we go down. And what is it? It's this is another air layer. And this is thermal air. It was 3 inches. And finally, we insert, go down. The last one, it's another finish. It's gypsum. And it was, yeah, 5/8. Okay, so let's do it. 5/8. We click OK. And I did something terrible because I didn't duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate this. And yeah, let's place another name. So Arch 320 Wall 1. I told you that I'm not good at giving names to things. And this is not a good name because Wall 1. What is Wall 1? I don't know. So be creative when it comes to names.
Could you?
Sorry?
Could you show the measurements of each of the materials again?
Sure. Okay, so from inside to outside, this finish gypsum board, 5/8 inches. Thermal air layer, 3 inches. Concrete masonry units, 10. Rigid insulation, 6. Air gap, 3. And finally, brick common, 4 inches. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. We click OK. And this is our Arch 320 wall 1 with all layers here. And we are going to place the wall here. Okay. Well, first, we have to make sure that the order, because sometimes the orientation is different. If you press space bar, you see that you change, now this is the brick, this is the air gap, this is the thermal insulation, and this is the concrete unit, but the brick is facing inside. We don't want this, okay? So we have to make sure that, yeah, in this case, the brick is outside, and outside, this is what we want. And second, we have these grid lines, and this is the structural line. Okay, so when we are going to insert the steel structure, they are going to be at the intersections of these two grids, the vertical and the horizontal ones. And the structural element, we know that this is the concrete masonry unit. Okay, look at this. If we select this wall, we want to make this midpoint between the concrete in the concrete masonry unit. This is the midpoint that has to be here in this grid line. So if we move it, we can select the different layers, you see. So I can select this point, this is the brick, this is the air gap, this is the thermal insulation, this is the concrete, the air gap again, and this is the interior gypsum board. But if you hover your mouse, you see that there is a midpoint here where the concrete layer is. So this is the core, this is the core or the layer that is between these two core boundaries. Okay, so when we define where the core of this wall is, we can select this midpoint, and then we can move it up to the axis. So that's good because this is the structural element. So all the structural elements have, this is the axis, or this is the grid line of all different structural elements. So we have to do the same with this one. We move, hover the mouse, we find it here, move it up to this grid line, and we make sure that everything is moved here and there. Okay, so now it's correct because the grid line is just in the middle of this layer, the concrete wall. Why is it important? Okay, let's insert the column, the structural column, and we're going to work with this W250-49. When we insert this, well, I already knew that this is a, well, where is it? It's in this crazy level. Now I want this to go to level 12 and with no offset. Okay, there you go. Okay, so I knew that this is, if we edit type, we have this in centimeters. Well, because this is a European element, so the size in this case comes in centimeters. Anyway, I knew that it was going to be something close to 10 inches, and you see that it's not exactly 10 inches, and that's fine because things are not matching perfectly, and we need, because eventually this structural element, this steel column, will move, and the movement of this element is different than the concrete. So we always need like half inch or quarter an inch between these elements, so that they don't move in different ways and they end up damaging each other. Okay, so we always need a gap between those elements. So it's good. It's a good thing that we have this gap. So we have 10 inches here. Okay, so we annotate.
And
Yep.
sorry to interrupt. What is
Oh,
your graphic display at? Because I have mine on fine and hidden line, and I just see solid black lines for the
oh
column.
yeah, like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can click here, thin lines.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, and that's it. Well, that's interesting. Thank you for the question, because we will end up using these kind of things. Or just change the scale. If you change a large scale, then we have this
Okay.
without using that. Okay. So I don't know, we can, this is a detail. So when we're working with details, 3/4, maybe it's not enough. So one inch to 1 feet, that's fine. Okay. Because it's good to see because this is something that is structural, so it has to be like highlighted like this, like bold. It's fine. Okay. Anyway, if you don't want to see different lines, click here, and all these elements are the same. But I think it's, to me, it's good to understand that this is the structural element. Okay. Yep. So now we can copy this copy multiple, and now we can copy this here and there. So all these elements are matching this. Well, this is bold, so that's why we don't have this gap. Okay, but it's fine. Okay, so we would do the same on each there you go. So each grid line has a column on it. And if we look at the 3D, yep, we have this. We don't see the walls on the 3D. Oh, I see. Because we are, yeah, we are opening, or we are working with a structural discipline. Okay, if you change to architectural, you see the wall. Well, today we are not working with the structural because we are not working with trusses. Anyway, as you can see, we can change from architectural to structural easily. But if you're working with a structural template, you don't see walls. And probably if you're working with architectural template, you won't see any other structural elements. So get used to changing from architectural to structural. Okay, so level 0, this is it. We need a roof. So let's place the roof on level 12. So on level 12, let's select architecture, roof, and we're going to edit type duplicate, and we're going to create another roof, art 320 roof 1. Again, try to find another name for this. And we're going to edit different layers. So first we need a structure. What is the structural element of this detail? Okay, so what is this? Look at this. Is this sloped structure? Well, it's not complete, but this is sloped structural roof deck. What is a roof deck? Roof deck, steel roof decking or slab. Okay, there you go. This is it. Okay, so we have this steel, galvanized steel element. So we place this and then we pour the concrete on it. Okay, so when we are working with structural, with steel structures, usually floor slabs or roof slabs are like this, are this roof decking, and then we pour the concrete on it. Okay. Yeah, and this is what you see from below. I think in the TDS center, okay, so here you see the beams, the columns, the beams, and then we have this roof decking on the beams. I think in some parts of the TDS center, you can see these roof decks exposed. Sometimes we have a false ceiling, but in other places we can see this. Okay, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever you like. This is not. This is good because it's quite easy. We don't need a formwork because when we're pouring concrete and we are using wooden formwork, it takes a lot of time, and this is faster, not cheaper, but as a material, the material is not cheaper, but I mean, if you speed up things, then you save money in construction. Okay, so the good thing is to use materials and to use something that it's fast and doesn't require a lot of people working on it. So that's why this is a good solution for this kind of um, steel structures. So let's work. Do we have something like deck here? Yes, so we have this metal deck, so that's fine. We can use this. And what is the structure? What is the thickness? We can look at this. Okay, so it's not too thick. Okay, let's make it 8 inches. 8 inches. And this is a structural element. In roofs, we're not going to use this. We don't have to align this axis of the structural element to anything. But anyway, just for the sake of doing things well, we know that this metal deck is the structural element of this roof. And then we have to insert things above and insert things below. Okay, so this is the metal deck, 8 inches. And when do we have what do we have above? Well, you see that we have like 2 layers of thermal insulation. Why do we have 2 layers? Well, because those are panels. And usually, well, we don't have panels that thick. So the thickness of this thermal insulation on the roof, it's it can be, if this is 6 inches, this can be 12. Yeah, let's say 12. So let's create 2 layers, 6 inches each. Why? Well, maybe we will find out later. So we're going to create 2 thermal insulation layers, category rigid insulation. And 6 inches. And now I'm going to insert another one. It's going to be again thermal air layer, rigid insulation, 6 inches. And finally, we do have at the top, we have to protect this thermal insulation. And here you see that we have this dashed line. This is a waterproof layer. It's a gypsum extend roofing membrane. It's a membrane, yes. Sheet waterproofing membrane. Okay, so this is the waterproofing membrane. What is it? By the way, this is rigid insulation, so that's fine. Yeah. So what kind of waterproofing membranes we'll have here? We have to insert a new one. It's let's create a finish, and there should be something like EPD. Yeah, so we have this roofing EPDM membrane. So this is waterproofing. It's like the asphalt shingles, but this is for flat roofs. Okay, so this kind of EPDM. It's a plastic, a polymer. So this is a good option. So we have this. And what is the thickness? It's not too thick. It's a membrane. So we can say half inch. Okay, so let's say half inch. Okay, so this is the waterproof layer. This is the thermal insulation. This is the structural element, the metal deck. And what do we have here? Okay, so apparently we have an air gap here, a tiny air gap, let's say 2 inches. And then there is another gypsum or false ceiling here made of gypsum. Okay, so air gap and gypsum. And this is thicker than this one. So let's say that this is 1 inch and this is too small. So I'd rather have 2 inches here. Okay, so let's do it. So this is not structural. This is air. Air. And 2 inches. And finally, insert, last one, it's finish, the gypsum, and 1 inch. Okay, so what are the materials inside this finished gypsum board? 1 inch. Air lay, no, this is not the roofing Epdm. This is air. Okay, so gypsum board, 1 inch, air, 2 inches, the structure, metal deck, 8 inches, 2 layers of rigid insulation, 6 inches each, and finally the roofing EPDM membrane, ½ inch. Okay, so this is our basic roof arch, whatever. And now we click this here. And there we click OK. Would you like to, yes, attach? And now on the 3D view, well, no, edit footprint. I don't want slopes. So this is the roof and these are the walls. Well, I think there's nothing new so far, but now we are going to start something different. So we are going to create a section here. So we're going to view a section and we look at this way. So section 1, okay. So this is it. We have to turn this into this. Okay, difficult. So let's start. Well, as you can see, we have a parapet here. So this is the roof edge detail parapet. Okay, so we have to create this parapet. So we have to go, this wall goes up. How much? Let's say 4 feet. So let's create a new level. Where is the elevation? Okay, so this is level 12. We can copy and create level for 5 inches. Okay, 17. So let's create level 17. And on this section, where do we have the levels? They're here. Okay. So we have level 12 here, level 17 here. I think 17 is too much. So let's bring it down. Let's say 15. Well, let's say 15. Yeah. So first thing, we have to move this wall up to level 15. And we can do this on the we can select all the walls and then move them level 15. And why doesn't it move?
I think it's because the roof's attached to the walls already.
Oh, yep. Great. So detach the wall. Yeah, so we are going to detach all these walls. Detach top base. This is not attached. And this is not attached. And now we can move them up to level 15. Why? Detach. I'm going to do it again. So it's architecture, wall. So this is the wall. Now we have to move it here, move here. And now this is unconnected. So top constraint level 15. So is it working? Yes, now it works. Okay. And now I continue this here and I move it Now I trim. Okay. Actually, this is enough because what I want, this is connected to level 15. What I want is just this section. Okay, so if I go to the section, yeah, actually, this is what I want. Okay, so this is the roof, this is the wall, and this is a mess because now we have this, and now we have to understand this wall continues up to the top. Then we have the thermal insulation, it continues, the air gap continues, the brick wall continues, but we have this element here at the top, but the air layer finishes here, and this element, the gypsum wall, ends here. Okay, so, and what about the roof deck gets this element, then the false ceiling stops here, and then we have even this is the first 6-inch panel that ends here, and then we have another 6-inch panel that ends there, and then we move up with the thermal insulation. Okay, so that's complicated, and now we have to connect things, and we have a wall with all these layers, but now these layers have to be independent, so we cannot move all the layers as we are moving the wall. Okay, so far, if we move this, if we move the wall, we move all the layers. We don't want that. Now I want this brick to get up to this point. The concrete masonry unit goes up to that point. So we have different heights for different layers. How can we do that? Okay, so first, we don't have this intersection here. So I think we can go to the roof, and it will work better if we edit the footprint, and instead of using this edge outdoors, if we move this to the indoor face of the wall, it will work better. Okay, so now we go to the section. Yeah, because most of things, as we can see on this detail, go up. So the brick go up, the air chamber, the thermal insulation, the concrete wall, and only the air layer in this stops at this level. Okay, so I think it's better if we finish the roof here, and then we figure out how to extend things. Okay. So let's work with this. There's a useful tool. If you select the wall, here you have create parts. Okay, so if you look at the video, we have a wall that has different layers. We select this, and then we create different layers. Okay, so now it's not a wall anymore. So we have each layer is an object. Each layer is an entity that we can edit. So let's do it. So let's create parts. Okay, and now the brick is a layer. The air gap is another one. The thermal insulation is another one. The concrete is another one. We have another air gap here. And finally, the gypsum. Okay. And now we can change the height of all these layers. For example, if we select the brick, and if we want to change the size, the height of this brick, you have to select this option, show shape handles. Okay, so click here, and now this is editable, and we can work with the height of this element. Okay, that's useful. That's very useful because look at this. The first, this gypsum board, well, it gets up to the metal deck, and the air chamber, I think it gets up to the metal deck as well. So if we select this one, show shape handles, and then we move it down up to this point, and this is an air gap, but and even the air gap is an object, so we have to show this, and then we have to move it down up to this level. Okay, and then we can do the same with the roof. So if we select the roof and create parts, so now this is the metal deck. Okay, so if we select this metal deck, shape handles, and this metal deck goes up to this point, as we can see here. So this is the metal deck up to the concrete block. But now we can see that this gypsum goes up to the metal deck, is not up to this gypsum board level. So let's select this one, and that goes up to the metal deck. And now we have the air layer here, the air layer there, that we can fill this gap with air layer. And then we have this gypsum board ending here. Okay, so that's fine, that's correct. And what do we do with the thermal insulation? So with the thermal insulation, you see that it goes up to this level, and here we have a thermal insulation that goes up. Okay, and we have two different panels of thermal insulation here and there. We can make it simple. If we select this shape handles up to the concrete masonry unit, and then we will stop this thermal insulation here, and we will do something different there. Okay, but now it looks well, it looks better. Of course, we need to work with this because now if we look at, okay, so this is the top. If the top is the concrete masonry unit, well, it's not the top because we wrap it with like 2 inches of thermal insulation here, and then we have this metal element, and then we have this cap made of aluminum or metal coping system. Okay, so there are a lot of things here, but don't worry because we will find out how to do it. And now, do we like these materials? No, we don't. Okay, we don't like these hatches. And we can, well, there are different ways to do this. By the way, if you don't believe me, or if you don't think that this is the best way to do it, there are a lot of tutorials. So I can show you this. Okay, so there are a lot of tutorials on how to make callouts. This one, it's quite good. This, I don't know if you know him. This Balkan architect or whatever. It's quite good. I mean, we are better, so we're doing better. But well, he's explaining here the same thing I'm explaining now. And well, you see that it's nice having different colors, different hatches, and not the default hatches that we have in Revit. Okay, so let's try to do it now. Well, we have something to copy, so we want to copy this. So I'm not very fond of this hatch for the thermal insulation, because the international hatch for thermal insulation is this. Well, this is the international hatch for thermal insulation. This, okay. And we have this in Revit by default. Okay, so the first thing is the thermal insulation. How can we do that? Well, different ways. If this is the thermal insulation and we want to change the hatch, I recommend you right-click and overwrite graphics in view. If we select this, let's say by element, here we have projection lines, surface patterns, surface transparency, cut lines, cut patterns. So far, everything is visible. So let's turn this into not visible and apply. Okay, it's blank. Okay, so that's a good start. So we have a blank element here. And now if we click annotate, you see that here we have the hatch of insulation. Okay, so places a bat insulation graphic in a detailed view, Perfect, this is what we want to do. So click here. And if we click just here, we have this wonderful hatch. But it's not that easy because well, we don't want to place it here. So if we select annotate insulation, first we need the width. We know that the width is 6 inches because we have decided that. So first the width is 6. And second, we have to center to near side or to far side. By default, we have center. So let's click near side. And if we are here, okay, so it's the other way around. So either go downwards, but if we want to go upwards, so it has to be a far side. There you go. Okay, so now we have this and we can extend this, and yeah, we can extend whatever we need. What if we want a color here? Well, they are different. Now be careful because we can select either the layer. So if we are selecting this, we are selecting the layer itself, but we can select only the hatch. Okay. So I want to select the layer and I want to change the color of this layer. So I can right click here, overwrite graphics by element. And now we have to understand how this works. So here we have surface patterns, cut patterns. Okay, surface is, we are looking at the section. So we are not looking at surface patterns. We are looking at cut patterns. So it's not visible. So I want to make it visible, but I don't want to make it by material. We have aluminum, whatever. I want a solid fill. And what solid fill? I want to select the color. And yeah, the international color for thermal insulation, it's something yellowish. It's up to you, something like that. We click OK, apply. There you go. Nice. Okay. So now you see that we have this, well, it can be even, well, I don't know what kind of yellow, but if we look at the section and if we see that something that it's yellowish and it has this hatch, everybody here in the United States, in China, will understand that this is the thermal insulation. And thermal insulation, it's something important in a wall. So I think it's worth doing this. Now we should do the same with this because this is thermal insulation again, and this is 6 and 6. So that's why I decided to place 2 6-inch panels instead of one 12-inch panel here, because that gives us some flexibility to work with these patterns. Okay, so right click, let's do it again, overwrite graphics in view. Let's make everything invisible except this one that we don't want. We want a solid fill. We want a color, and here we can try. Do you think we can find exactly the same color that we have found there? Well, it's not the same color. So what can we do? If you like this color, okay, so override graphics in view. This is RGB, so we can copy that scale and try to copy something easy to remember. So if this is 245, so we can make it 245 and 100. Okay, so those are numbers that we can remember: 245, 245, 100, red, green, and blue, and the, yeah, it's something yellow. 245, 245, 100. Okay, so now we can select, no, this one. We can override graphics in view, And now this color can be 245, 245, and 100. Okay, so now we make sure that all these thermal insulation has the same color. Now we can do that here again. Not visible, not visible, solid by material, and here we can type directly 245, 245, and 100. There you go. Where is the hatch? Insulation, 6 inches. To center, no, it's either far or near side. So, okay, it's always the other one. If you select far, it's near, and if you select near, it's far. So like this, and like this.
Why can't you just select center?
If you select center, installation to center, it's if you click here, it's in the middle.
Okay. But if you click the center line, you can do it that way.
If you select this, yeah, if you select the center line here, you can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So this is getting better. It's even well, nicer than this because, well, they didn't, well, sometimes you get paid and you don't mind, okay, what's the point of having nice textures or whatever? I'm getting paid the same amount of money. Well, try to be professional and try to do it to the best of your abilities. Okay, so we have this. We can try this. This is the metal deck. Okay, so for the metal deck, we can overwrite graphics in view, and we can see what kind of patterns we have, especially this cut pattern. We can change by material, and we can say, because a metal deck, it's a metal, it's a very thin layer of metal, and then we have concrete on it. So I think the concrete hatch works well. And we apply, yeah, this concrete hatch worked well. And if you want to make it colorful, we can select this, we can overwrite graphics in view, and this is the foreground, okay, the cut pattern. So it has the hatch, the concrete hatch, but the background, we can select a color, a solid fill color by material, and it can be like something light gray. Again, look at this. This is even 226, 226, and 226. So let's select this, apply, and okay, nicer. Okay, so we have this. Everybody understands that this is concrete because it's gray and it has this hatch with concrete on it. Okay, things are getting better now. What about the brick? Because for the brick, we have a hatch. This is brick. Everybody understands that this is brick. Well, there are, if we select this, we can annotate, and there's another here. We have used this insulation, but we have this component. So in component, we have detail, and we have repeating detail component. If you click repeating detail component, by default, we have brick. Okay, so this is just what we need. And we can place it here. And you see that we have the brick. The brick hatch. The problem is that here we have two hatches. We have this one and the brick one. Well, in this case, the hatch in the brick is the same as but I don't think it's nice looking at this hatch between two bricks. So we can always, I'm going to use something different now, okay? So I'm going to use, instead of doing this, I'm going to use a region, a masking region. So if you select a masking region, let's select a rectangle. Okay, so it's white. So I told you that there were different things to start with a white background, and then we can insert the brick or the thermal insulation or whatever. I don't know. In this case, I prefer, instead of using the masking region, I would do this. Okay, masking region is useful, but for other things. I'll try to explain myself. But here I would rather do this. I would try to hide all these elements, and now I have a blank thing, because the more objects are information, so objects make the Revit file heavier, and at the end you are selecting a lot of things, a lot of entities, and a lot of, so the fewer objects, the better, in my opinion. But if you look at other tutorials, they are, I don't know, all the tutorials I have been watching, they love these masking regions. Well, it's useful because if you use a masking region, you can do something like that. Okay, so if you need to hide a part of that detail, you can do this with a masking region. Well, you hide this, but you don't hide the thermal insulation. I don't know, but it depends. But masking regions are useful, but in this case, if you just want to get rid of this hatch, turn it to not visible, and I think it's easier. And now we use the component, the brick, the repeating component, and we can do this. And if we go down, we can go all the way down. What if we want to start right here, so we can align this? Okay, and finally, I think we need the concrete block, this one. How can we do that? It would be great if there were repeating detail with concrete blocks. It would be great. But as far as I know, in this, I haven't uploaded this. Well, I didn't do it because I want to do it. So I want to upload one. So I want to create my own repeating detail, and that in other, probably you can download somewhere, or you can probably insert families. So here we have detail items, okay? And there, I'm sure that there would be something like this, but this is overwhelming. Okay, so instead of looking for it, I have decided to do it on my own. So let's do it. So first we want to get rid of this hatch. I don't like it. Okay, and we can annotate and create a detail component, not a repeating detail, but a detail component. And here we have this. This can be useful because at the end we need to place this here. Detail component. I have a soldier plan. I have the running section, and I have the row. What is this? What kind of details? Okay, apparently I have to insert something, so let's do it. Load the family, and here in details, in Masonry. I'm going to upload another template with all these things. That this template, concrete unit Masonry. Okay, so this is, we're going to need this one. So I want this one, this bond beam single section, because if you look at this detail, it's just what I have here at the top of this. So let's open this one and let's load two core section, this one. Okay, so now in annotate component detail, we do have the concrete masonry unit, you see, but we want a 10-inch concrete masonry unit. So here we have 4, 4, 6, 8. We need a 10-inch because it has to be here. Again, let's do this. So there's a gap between this and this, and it's fine because it's a 10-inch, but it's not 10 inches. It's slightly less than 10 inches. That's fine. So now we can copy multiple. And you see that here we have the, because between two concrete masonry units, we have a layer of cement or mortar. So we have to start here and we have to end there. There you go. Okay, so now we can select 1, 2, 3, copy. Okay, we can move it down. And finally, there's another detail. Which is the bond beam. This one, but this is 6. This is 4, 6, and 8. We don't have a 10. Okay, so I'll show you something different. Okay, but because we don't have this 10 that fits here, it's 8. It doesn't look well. Since this is something easy, we can always create our own detail. So here you have detail line. Okay, so you can either insert the insulation, you can insert a component, a repeating component, or a repeating detail component, or a detail itself, a mask region, but we can draw anything. So we can draw this. Okay, it was something like that. Up to this point, Now we can use the mirror. And finally, there you go. Okay, so even if we don't have a detail, we can always create our own detail, and okay, it works well. Then we move it this point. Okay, so now we select everything here, we move it to the top. So I think here we're almost there. Okay, so we have the concrete masonry units, we have this element here at the top, and well, we can go even farther. So let's try to do this. Let's try to work with that flange or that beam. So we can move it down. And here, do we have detail? This. Okay, this is too big. Can we scale? No, we can't. Okay, so probably we have to insert load family. We are not inserting concrete masonry units. Do we have plumbing, utilities, material, metals, steel joists? Nope. Cold form, metal framing. Nope. Structural metal studs. Nope. Structural steel framing. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so here we have this kind of shape section. This one. Wow. This is overwhelming. I think it's 4 is the smallest one. So let's try. And now annotate, component, detail. Well, it was 4. Yeah, this is more beautiful, but that works. Okay, so we can align it here and align it there. Okay, so I think we have all components now. We have the concrete masonry unit, the metal deck. Here we have the gypsum, the air layer. This we have to understand this because that we will work on that on Thursday. I think today this is quite good. It's quite good because now we have different approaches to this. And if you look at the professional drawings, we have this section. Okay, so in that section, this is the amount of information that we have. We don't see what's going on here. So that's why we need a call out. So we can create a call out by going to view, call out. And we are doing this. Okay, so we have this call out, and now we can place a name here. And when we are doing this, we have the section 1, call out 1. There you go. Do you think it was going to be easy? No, because in this call out, you don't have the information that you have already done. Okay. So be careful with this, because if you are working on that section a lot, and then you want to do the same, well, you have to start from scratch. Okay, so be careful. That's why in sections, we have a level of detail. And then when we start doing all these things, we'd better do it in the call out, because otherwise we have to do it again. Okay. Anyway, today we have done this. The thing is that if we do this with Zoom, okay, so we zoom in and zoom out, and in this section we have all the detail that we want. But if we print this, we have to select what scales we are using when we are generating the sheets of our project. And that's why scale is relevant. So we need to see what scale is this section. Well, we don't see the scale here, but here we see the building from the footing to the roof. And then in the callout, we just see this. And that scale is 1/1/2 to 1 foot. Okay, so that's a good scale for details. If we're working with callouts, so that can be 1/1/2 to 1. That's a good scale for details. And what is a good scale for sections? 1/8. Okay, 1/8 or even 1/4. Yeah, I think 1/4 would be better. Okay, so we can use 1/4 for sections, and then we can use 1/2 equals 1 foot to for callouts, and that will work. But be careful, because all this information in section, maybe it's not relevant, because if we print it at that scale, we don't realize if we have a beam, a steel element here or not, or we don't realize if we have this. Okay, so this is experience. So this is something that will come with experience. So if you have done this hundreds of times, you know what the level of detail is for a section 1/4 to 1, or for a call out 1/2 to 1. It depends. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to show you today is how to work with annotations, because the other interesting thing here is to we have to write information about materials here. Okay, how can we do that? Either in the callout or in the section. Let's do it in the callout. So in annotate, we can just insert text, and that's it. We can insert a keynote, or we can insert a material tag. No, not a material tag. Annotate. Tag all. I don't find the icon that was here. Okay, let's do it with a keynote. Let's do it with a material keynote. Okay, so just I think this is a good idea. Material keynote here. Okay, and we are in this material. And I want to remove to reduce the channel location. What? Okay. If we select the rigid insulation, we want a tag for this rigid insulation material. So if we select this rigid insulation, Here we have graphics, appearance, the physical properties, the thermal properties, but we have identity. And this is the information for the keynote, okay? It should be here. Why isn't here by default? I don't know. But anyway, if this is a rigid insulation, if we click here, enable to keynote, remove, delete. Okay, so it's not here. So that's why it wasn't working here. Anyway, I have to fix this in this template because we don't have, when you open this keynote, this material, you have a list of materials and you can assign what kind of rigid insulation you want to place here. So that when you are using Annotate and material keynote, just by clicking on it, you have the name of the material. But it's not working. So we can always insert text and we can say rigid insulation. And these visibility graphics, I think the text annotation. Well, it's not ready in this template. I thought it was, but it's not. So we will do that on Thursday. Okay. So far we have